The JonBenet Ramsey case is one of the most perplexing unsolved mysteries of our time, and a central piece of that mystery is the cryptic ransom note. In this video, I'm going to be diving into a fascinating theory that the initials SBTC reference the Subic Bay Training Center, tying back to John Ramsey's military service in the Philippines. This theory suggests that John, I believe to be a meticulous planner, crafted the note as part of an elaborate diversion, deliberately pointing investigators toward his past and a supposed foreign faction. According to the Bureau of Navy Personnel in Washington, Ramsey served at Subic Bay from March of 1968 to November of 1969, during one of the most intense periods of the Vietnam War. But why would John tie this crime to his military service? What makes this theory plausible? Throughout this video, we're going to explore how the note references elements of John's life, including his military skills, his business connections, and his ability to manipulate narratives. Let's start with Subic Bay itself, one of the most significant U.S. naval bases of its time. Subic Bay was a cornerstone of U.S. naval operations in Southeast Asia, especially during the Vietnam War. According to Smithsonian Magazine, this base supported thousands of personnel and served as a critical logistics hub, providing repairs, resupply, and even rest for soldiers. Its proximity to Vietnam made it indispensable for maintaining U.S. naval strength during the conflict. This wasn't just a base, it was a fortress. Subic Bay represented American power in the Pacific, and its operations were vital to the war effort. Soldiers stationed there played a direct role in supporting combat missions, even if they weren't on the front lines. It's worth noting that Ramsey's assignment at Subic Bay came at a pivotal time, a time that we call the Tet Offensive of 1968, which was a coordinated attack by North Vietnamese forces and had just shaken the U.S. military to its core. Given its significance, Subic Bay could be a logistical reference point for someone trying to craft a narrative about a foreign faction. So let's look at Ramsey's role at this critical location. John Ramsey served at the Navy Public Works Center at Subic Bay, which was responsible for maintaining the infrastructure that kept the base operation. According to declassified Navy records, this included everything from repairing machinery to ensuring power and logistics were functioning efficiently. While John Ramsey wasn't on the front lines, I believe that his role was integral to the larger war effort. This period would have shaped John Ramsey's resourcefulness and problem-solving skills. Military service often requires quick thinking and the ability to improvise. These are qualities that reflect the concept of, might we say, jury rigging, which we'll discuss shortly. But here's where it gets interesting. Could Ramsey's time at Subic Bay have left a trail that someone, or even John himself, wanted to resurface decades later? Was the ransom note's mention of a foreign faction a deliberate attempt to connect this crime to his military past? During John Ramsey's time at Subic Bay, the Vietnam War was at its height. The Tet Offensive, described by the Office of the Historian, was one of the largest coordinated attacks of the war and saw U.S. forces sustain heavy losses before it regained control. Subic Bay was a lifeline, ensuring that damaged ships could return to battle and that supplies reached the front lines. This context, I believe, is crucial because it frames John Ramsey as someone directly connected to a controversial war effort. Could this connection have fueled resentment, as the ransom note seems to suggest? The phrase, "we respect your business, but not the country it serves," implies a deep political and ideological grievance, one that could plausibly tie back to Vietnam-era conflicts. I think one of the most chilling aspects of the JonBenet Ramsey case is the use of the garrote, which is a weapon that requires deliberate construction and precision. And here's why I think John Ramsey's military background becomes relevant. Because of the concept of jury rigging. In naval terms, this refers to makeshift repairs using whatever materials are available, which is a skill that John likely honed during his time at Subic Bay. According to Naval History magazine, such resourcefulness was a hallmark of servicemen stationed at remote bases like Subic Bay. The construction of the garrote using common household items seems to align eerily with this skill set. Was this another subtle clue designed to point investigators toward Ramsey's past while creating plausible deniability? And this is where the crux of the argument comes into play. The initials SBTC have been interpreted in countless ways, from Southern Baptist Council to Safe Beyond the Clouds, or whatever you want it to be. But I think the most compelling theory ties them directly to John Ramsey's military service at the Subic Bay Training Center. If the note was written by someone familiar with Ramsey's history, or even John himself, I think that this would be a subtle yet unmistakable reference to John's past. Additionally, I think it's also worth noting that the ransom note is deeply personal to John. It mentions his bonus, it mentions his business, and it even uses language that is reflective of John's professional and personal life. To me, I think this lends credibility to the idea that the note was crafted with intimate knowledge of John Ramsey's experience, something someone who knew John intimately would have known. You see, the SBTC theory, to me, offers an extremely compelling lens through which to view the JonBenet Ramsey case, whether it's a reference to Subic Bay, a diversionary tactic, or both. I think the ransom note stands as a calculated attempt for John to manipulate investigators. By giving instructions to Patsy, I think John was very intentional in how he helped Patsy craft the note. John Ramsey's military past, his resourcefulness, and his understanding of psychology all point to him as the master orchestrator of this complex narrative. But I want to know what you think. Am I wrong? Am I tripping? Could SBTC hold the key to understanding this case? Or is it just another layer of misdirection? Anyway, let me know in the comments your thoughts. Like, share, subscribe. And until next video, take it easy.